Alright, this is a web application created with Laravel. It's called Visitor Management System. So this visitor management system is mostly suitable for co-working offices. So let me show you what it does. So this is the blueprint of the software. We have a super admin which oversees all the department, while we have two receptionists who enters the data about the visitors. Mostly the data would be like they would be visiting a department. In the department they would be meeting the managers. Likewise, if there is a visitor who wants to visit the department sales, and the manager he would be meeting is Simon, so these information would be entered by either one of the receptionists, and these are the information which he would be entering. So let me show you the software. Fine, now let me log out and enter as a super admin. Here in this case the super admin is UI Monk 99. So now he can edit the super admin can edit his profile. He can change his name, he can update his email, password. Now he can add a receptionist. Like we have two receptionists right now, one is Lyndon and the other is Ryan. If he want, he can add one more with this form. And then we have departments. As of now we have 4 department. If he wish to add one more department, he can add by clicking on this add department, and just by clicking on this button he can add the manager of the particular department. Likewise, this is the overall visitor information entered by both the receptionists. Here we have 2 receptionists, which the main admin can see both the receptionist details which they have entered. And finally, let me just log out and enter as a receptionist. Cool, let me just show you. I'm going to enter as a Russell, and the visitor is Vishal. He is going to meet the sales manager called Smith. Let's just enter that. So this is the receptionist. He is going to enter the information. The visitor name is Vishal. Add visitor. And I have entered all the details of Vishal, and he is going to meet the department sales, and Smith is a person he wants to meet, and the reason for meeting is, you can write anything, and the time which he entered the office is 6 o'clock, and at present the status is in. So now click on add. Now you could see Vishal has come to meet the person called Smith, and the department is sales, and the in time. And right now, as a super admin, let me just log in at super admin. The super admin can also view the status of the visitor. You can see the Vishal has come to meet Smith, and the status is in. Now after some time, Vishal has met the Smith, has met the manager Smith and left. So in that case, he can simply edit the out time, saying that 7 o'clock he left. Click on edit, and now the status is updated as out. So as a super admin, which I have logged in as in the incognito mode, and I can view the status of the Vishal, and he is out. Likewise, if you want to delete, he can delete it. Tutorial and source code available on my YouTube channel. Alright, if you are interested in learning more about Laravel, I have a complete playlist for it. We are at episode number 37 right now. So I have started the playlist from episode number 0 for absolute beginner, and we have reached till here as an intermediate Laravel developer. Now during the process, what we have done, we have converted we have learned how to install, and then we have it's all about a mini project. You can see each of them are about 1 hour long. So each of them are individual projects. So starting from the CRUD operation, and then we have converted HTML template to Laravel, and then we have created mini projects like the burger shop, pizza shop, cake shop, sandwich shop, and CMS t-shirt shop. And then we have jumped into the login system, like subscriber login system, and we have tested all the form fields. And then finally we have got into the booking system, and we are in the visitor management system right now. So in the upcoming videos the difficulty would be like from intermediate to high level. So if you are a very beginner, I would suggest you to start from zero. Likewise, I have a complete list for JavaScript as well. If you are a intermediate or if you are absolutely beginner, I would recommend you to start from zero. Each of them are of mini projects. I have reached till here like episode number 101. So that's all for this. Let's just jump into the actual code. Now the specialty of these two playlists is each of them has a source code inside it. You can see this is the source, and if you click on it you will be able to download it. Likewise over here also each individual project we have a source code for it. Alright, first of all we have to install Laravel. So to do that I have code, so we have to copy this code and paste it in the command line. Let me close the server first. Now we are going to create the folder, our Laravel folder in XAMPP htdocs version 2 of Laravel projects, and paste your project, paste your code. As you paste, Laravel, this command prompt will download your Laravel folder. We are giving the command prompt here, in this case it's composer, saying that create a project and download the Laravel package and name the folder as visitor management, and the preferred Laravel version is 8.6.3, and the Laravel folder will be downloaded in this path. We just have to wait until it downloads. Once it is downloaded, we have to get inside the project. We have made it as visitor management, and inside we are going to install some package for the registration and login screen. So this would help us to create login and registration file easier. Anyways, we would be creating custom login and registration file, but to keep the structure we would be having it. Along with this we would be installing the authentication package of provided by Laravel, and we would be installing npm install. So let's just do that. And it says you have to install npm install and npm run dev. You may have to install it again until you see the screen on the table. I'm sorry, you will be seeing the table on the screen. As said, there is no table here, so we have to run a command again, which is npm run dev, and hopefully we see the table by the end. So that confirms that Laravel is properly installed in your device, and we can see that the table is on the command prompt. So let's just open our code in the Visual Studio. So file, open folder, as we click on open folder we have to navigate ourselves to the C drive and then XAMPP htdocs, and finally we have version 2 of Laravel. So let's just do that. C drive, XAMPP htdocs, then we have version 2 Laravel projects, and this is the project that we have added right now. Click on select folder, Visual Studio then open that folder for you in the code editor. By then make sure your XAMPP is running, and let's just create a database. So localhost phpMyAdmin. So it will open an phpMyAdmin in the browser. Now let's just create a database. Click on new, and you have to give the name of the database. So we are going to give the same name as of our folder name. In this case it's visitor management, and if you click on create, it says database has been created. Now since we have opened the visitor management, you have to get into the env file, and in the env file you have to link your database to the env file. Since we are using XAMPP, the default password is username is root and the password is blank. So let's just give the name of the database, and right now we need to create a table. So we would be modifying the migration file. So before modifying, let's just install all the tables into the database. So for that you have to get into the command prompt and type php artisan migrate. So once you do that, Laravel will create tables for you in the database which we have linked right now. So as of now, and now you see in the command prompt some of the tables has been imported. If I click on structure, you could see the tables that has been imported. We need to make, you need to look at the users table here. So right now I need to add one more column in the users table called enum. So this enum will hold either its admin or just a regular user, so that we uh, both of the user, in this case it's admin, and the regular user which is receptionist, data can be stored in the same table. Here it is, the user table. Let's just do that. So we need to modify the users table. So php addition make migration, and we need to say add new fields to users table. So once you see this, you would see a new file which is the name which we have created, and we need to create an enum in the up function. Over here I have created the enum of type, this is the column name, and either it's going to accept admin or user. So once it is done, what we need to do is we need to make sure that this type is mentioned on the model which is user. Cool. So we have to type php artisan serve again, sorry, php artisan migrate again to see the changes, that is the type on the users table. Click on browse, you should see a type. Cool. And now we need to create a controller. So the controller name is going to be custom auth controller. So once you do that, you would see a new file in the controller called custom auth controller. Here we would be writing the code that will redirect into a web page. So let's just do that. So first thing, we have to install the relevant packages. We have installed the user model, we have installed the auth model, and then we have hash function, and then we have session function here. So the hash and session will see the time, we'll see when the time comes. So just to give you an intro, the hash will convert your input field value, which is text value, into hash based values, and then the session, we will be passing it the data from one page to another. So now we need to create a function that will return a web page. So here in this case it's the registration function that is going to return auth.register. Now we need to create a new file called register in the auth folder. So resources, views, here you have auth, then you have to create a new file and call it register.blade.php. Why blade.php? So that we can write Laravel function over here. So now in the auth we have register. This, see, we need to erase it, and we would be adding our custom code, and this is the code, and I'll be writing it line by line or explaining it line by line. So let's just, since we are extending this page from the dashboard, so you should see a new view called and over here we have to create an HTML where we need to link our CSS and HTML file. Let's just do that, and I'll leave the link of this folder in the description. So in the JavaScript I have pasted all the script file that is required. Here we will be using data tables, and then we have CSS, bootstrap, dashboard, data tables. I have pasted it over here. Now we need to link these files in the dashboard. So these are the links, and for the script, these are the script, and as you see we have the asset function which will give you the relative or the absolute URL of this document. And if you see, we have surround our HTML inside the section called content, and in the dashboard you have to yield it. And now let's just check. We have done the HTML like we have a container, inside we have row, and inside we have a card header which will just show you the sign up heading, and then inside the card body we just have a form with action. We'll be writing it once we create the route. So we have a CSRF token to avoid cross-site forgery, and then we have an input field which is for name, then input field for email, input field for password, and then finally we have a sign up button. So to make this live we have to get into the routes, which is in routes web.php, and here we have to mention the URL for the route. So here I'm saying when there's a search for register, get into this controller and run this function, and the name of the route is register. Now to make this live you have to type php artisan serve, which will give you a IP address with port where you can run. So if I search for register, you should see an HTML, card header, 3 inputs and 1 button. Now let's make this form work. First of all, we need a route. So the form action, when we click on submit, the form should be submitted into a URL. So that URL we need to create right now, and it's with post request, and the URL we need to create a function on the controller which is custom registration, and we have given the name. So let's just create custom registration in the route. We don't need dashboard here. So let's just create a function, and this function will accept the input field value with this request reference, and let's just submit. Let's just create an action in the form tag. We need to find a form tag here. It's here, and over here we have used the route function to use the name of the route, and once you click on submit, these data will be sent with this reference. So we need to create a validation. Let's create validation. So now with the request we are validating the name, email and password. Name is required, email is required, and it should be of email, and then it should be unique to the table called user, and the password is required, and the minimum value for the password is 6. And then we are storing all the request into the variable called data, so that we can assign the data to the column name. And now since we have used the model user, we can access the model here, and with the help of create function, it's an array, associative array. We need to pass the column name and the input field. Column name, then input field, then the column name. We have converted the text password into hash space password using this class called hash, and with this hash we have a static method, and this double dot is called scope resolution operator, and we are calling the class hash has a static method make, and we are passing the text field, and we are converting the text field into hash space password and storing it into the column. And then since as of now we are just making the super admin able to log in, so in that case what I am doing is I am manually entering this as an admin. So in the table, the column type will have admin. Since we have created the validation, we need to add the validation on each input field. So we have a variable called error which has an hash function, and we need to pass the name of the input field, and to display at first we will check whether there is a error or not. If there is error, then display the error with the help of first function, and the error will be available to all the views which you type .play.php. So this is the object, and we have a hash method, and we are passing the parameter called name. Likewise, we have to do this for the email, and then we need to do it for the password. So once you click on submit, what is happening is the database is getting saved, and then we are returning them to the register. So in the web.php, you would see we have created a name route, so we are accessing that name route here, and we are sending them. The relevant name route is /register. We are sending them to the register page with the success message saying that registration successful. So just above our card body, we can display that success message with the help of session variable. And now you see we are using the session method, and with the help of session method we have a function. This session method will return a store object, and that store object has the class as the function called hash, and we are passing the key. So we have created a key, and this key we are passing it inside here, and we are displaying it as a success message and closing the div, and we need to end the session. End it. Cool, that's it. We have a session function that returns store, and it has the store has the hash function. We are passing the key, and then we are displaying the relevant value created in the controller. So this is key and this is value. This value will be displayed with the help of get function. Now let's just see this in action. Refresh this page, or make sure your XAMPP is or your PHP artisan code is running. So let's type uimonk @gmail.com. Password is going to be same. Once you click on sign up, you should see the success message saying that registration complete, and over here you should see the data that we have entered in the form that should display over here. And let's just check the validation as well. If I click on sign up, you should see the validation message, and let me try to log in again with the same credential. We should get an error. This email has been already taken. Fine, that means our validation is working, and our insert part of CRUD operation is also working. Let's just work on custom login page. So this is sign up. Just below the sign up button, let's just create one more link called login. I've created a VR, and to have an account login, and we'll be creating this route right now. And over here for the custom login, this is the URL, this is the name of the route. Actually we just need login. So this is login, and the relevant function is index on the custom controller. So in custom controller we need to create login function, and we are returning a view called login, which is in the auth folder. So in the resources, views, auth, we need to create it's already a file. Let me just delete this, and we'll be pasting our code, and then it's similar to what we have done for the register. So here we have a login text in the header, and then we have created an action which will be login.custom. I'll create the route in a minute. and then we have input field email, input field password, then a submit button, which is input type submit. When I click on submit, these values will get into this URL. So let's just create that, and this is for custom login. So this is the name of the route that we have given on the files action attribute, and then we need to create this custom login function in the controller. Over here I have created a login function as we did earlier. This request will hold the input field value. Now we need to validate the input field, get the input field email and password, these are required, then store the email and password into the variable called credentials. Previously we did data, and now this is credential. Now we need to check whether it is authenticated or not. With the help of auth class, the static function attempt will check whether it's valid email or password. If it is valid email and password, then proceed them to the dashboard. Now with the help of intended function, we are redirecting to the dashboard with the success message called login, and this is for authentication. If this is successful, that means the fast credentials are correct. What if the fast credential is incorrect? In that case, we will be redirecting them to the login page again, saying with the error login details incorrect. So now in the HTML we have to mention the error and the validation rule. So to display the error, we will be using it over here. So with the help of if directive, we are checking the session function that returns a store object, and store object has the function has. So inside that we are passing the key called error, and with the help of get we will be accessing the value of the key, which is error. Now we will be using the same error variable to display the error message of each input field. So this is email and this is for password. Everything seems to be alright. Now we need to define the login and dashboard. So when there's a success, we are saying that display, when there's a success, display the dashboard. So let's just create the dashboard. Dashboard is already created. Now we need to show something different to the logged in user. So for the logged in user, we'll show the navigation bar. So get into the dashboard, which is in resources, views, dashboard, and for regular user, @guest, and for logged in user, @else, @end guest. For logged in user, we need to show the navigation bar. For non-logged in user, let's just show the regular home. So what would be the regular home? Let's just check that. So Laravel is the regular home, so we need to correct it in the web routes web.php. We can make it as login as regular home or register as regular home. Let's just try register. Actually, what is the view? It's in the auth folder, auth.register. So when this is the base URL. So for the base URL, you don't have to show. Where is the dashboard? Resources, views, dashboard. We don't have to show anything. For the non-logged user, let's just CSS. So you can see CSS here. And for logged in user, we need to write the navigation bar. Show the navigation bar. Let me paste the code for Bootstrap navigation bar. So this is for the logged in user. I have a navigation bar, and then I'm just displaying the logout data, logout URL. So let me just remove this for now. We'll be creating the login functionality right now, and then we are displaying the user email. With the help of authentication, we are accessing the user function. With the help of user function, we can access data of user table, and here we are just displaying the email. So after login, we should see the dashboard. So we have an account. Let's just try the validation. It works. And for the login, we should redirect to the dashboard. Actually, the route is not created yet for the dashboard, and for the login is there for dashboard. So in the routes web.php, so here when there's a call for dashboard URL, we need to create the dashboard function. So we are creating the dashboard function, and we are checking if it is authenticated, then only show the dashboard, or else show the login page. And then in the routes, control V, we are able to see the, since we are logged in, we are able to see the sidebar. And if I click on logout, we should get logged out. So we need to create the function for logout. It will just clear the session, and we are going to use the auth.logout, and then we should redirect them to the login page. Now we need to create the route for it. So logout, we have a logout function and the name of the logout. If everything goes smooth, if I click on logout, I should get logged out. And if it is log out, you should not see this UI wonk. I don't know why I'm seeing this. So it's very simple, because in the dashboard we haven't created the route, and now it would work. Click on logout. Let me just click on logout, and the sidebar is gone. Sidebar and navbar is gone. So let me try login again. You should see the logged in screen. And for logout, so our custom login and registration is done. Now it's time to work on profile page. As you log in, you may need to edit your profile page, like you may need to change your password and username. In that case, let's just create that page one. So now we need to create a URL, and here let's just make this blank as of now, and this is going to be profile. In the sidebar you should see a profile link. So once you click on a profile link, so let's just create a route, and the profile is the route. Now we need to create the relevant URL in the web.php. So over here for the profile, we have to get into the profile controller. So we have not created a controller yet, so let's create a controller for the profile. We have to stop the server. Control C would stop it. And now we have to type the code, PHP artisan. I have not copied it yet. And you will see the controller created. So now you can uncomment this and get into the controller, which is profile controller. Here we need to create a constructor. So a constructor is called when this is initiated. So in the web PHP it would be initiated, and this controller will be only accessible to the logged in user. So to make that work, in the constructor we need to call the middleware and we need to pass the authentication reference. So here of course we need to call the relevant classes. Here we have called user, the auth which we have passed over here, and then we have hash and session as we did for the custom controller, custom login controller, custom auth controller. Cool. Now for the web.php, as we already did, we need to create an index function over here. So now we have to understand this profile function is only accessible to the this profile feature is only accessible to the logged in user. So only the logged in user can able to edit it. So to get the logged in user, we would be getting the logged in user ID. So this is logged in user and we are getting the logged in user ID, and we are passing this data which is logged in user ID with the help of compact function to this page. So we have not created that page yet. So in the resources views, you can create that page, profile.blade.php, and again it's going to be another HTML. Again it's a simple HTML. We have card header, and then we have form with post, username, email and password, and then the button called update password, update profile. Once you click on this, these input field data will be sent to this action, and here in this case the action is profile.edit. So now in web.php we have to mention the profile.edit. So over here the profile.edit is the name of the route, and the relevant function is edit validation. We have to create the edit validation in the profile controller. We have created the profile.edit function in the controller, and now first we have to validate all the input field, and then we have to store all the received input field data. So this is edit validation, I'm sorry for that. We're just validating the name and email, not the password, because the password is going to be optional. Either the user required to update the password or he may not. Now I'm storing all the data of input field to the variable called data, and after that, as I said earlier, we are going to have two cases. Either the submitted form would have password field or it may not. So let's just create that. And now if the password is not empty and if the password is empty, if the password is not empty, then we would be receiving 3 input field value. If the password is empty, then we would be receiving 2 input field value. Then we need to store all the input field value into an array, and this array is going to be form data the same way except password. Now we have name, email, password, as we have converted the text based to hash based. And once everything is done, we need to use the where clause with ID we need to pass, and then we need to update with the help of the form data which we have created as an array. So once the data is updated, we need to give a success message and return back to the profile page saying that profile updated. Now we need to edit the success message and the validation on the HTML page. And for the success message, it's the similar code that we have did twice earlier, and for the if error message also it's going to be similar. We just have to make sure that we have properly used the name attribute of each input field. Cool. Now in the web.php, when there is a hit for profile, let's just see this in action. We have to run the server php artisan serve. Make it run. Click on profile. You should see a form that has been filled. If I make this UIMonk 99 and click on update, you should see the data. Okay, form validation is the URL profile.edit. I think we have not saved it yet. Let's get back, refresh it. I think 99 has saved. Now let's just make this 98 and click on update. And it says profile updated. If you click on refresh, it's going to be UIMonk 98. And if I make this blank and try to update it, this is required. And let's just make this UIMonk as it was earlier. Now let me just change the email and password and click on update. The else is also working. You can see UIMonk 98. If I click log out and log in with the new credentials, which is UIMonk 99, and click on login, and I'm able to log in. Cool, that's what I need. And let me just remove this 99 and click on update. Profile created, profile updated. Cool, you can see UIMonk. So our profile section is also done. Now let's just create another module for the sub user, so the main admin can view the sub user. That's the module we are going to create right now. So in the dashboard, add a profile for sub user, and it could be directly like a URL called sub_user. And now we need to create a controller for the sub user. Control C to close the server. A controller is created. So here in the sub user, as we have already done for the custom auth, no, not for the custom auth, but for the profile, this feature will be only accessible to the admin. So for the to make that happen, inside the constructor we will be calling the middleware and passing the auth. So just like we have done, we have to import all the required classes. Now for the index file, so when we go for it, it should return a file without any function, and it's just going to be sub user, and we can create a new file. It's not camel case, we can simply make this as underscore. Let's just create a new file in the view subuser.blade.php, and now we are going to load the data tables here. What we do is, instead of sub user, we'll give with the name as receptionist. Rename receptionist, and likewise we can make the controller of receptionist, just to avoid confusion, and copy the same code as we did for the sub user to the receptionist. Cool, and now we can make this visible with the help of HTML, and the HTML is simple. We have used all the jQuery to load the bootstrap's data table. So here we have a data table, and then we have the breadcrumb, which is not at all important, and then we have a card header, and in the card header we can type all receptionist, and then we have a table with ID receptionist table, and we just define the table row which is name, email, created at, updated at, and action. And then we will be use the jQuery to fetch the data of the receptionist over here into the data table. So the table ID should match, and then we have processing true, server side true, and we will be creating the URL which will fetch the data and display it in the form of data table, and these are the column names. And then finally we'll make this work later on. This is for deleting before confirmation. And now we have to create this fetch all in the web.php. So here we need to create two routes, one for showing the receptionist page, and the second one is for getting the values from the receptionist column. So here we have, this is for displaying the page and this is for fetching the column. Now we need to create a fetch all function in the receptionist controller. We have created function, and with the help of function we would be knowing whether the request is through Ajax or not. We are checking if the request is through Ajax or not. If it is from Ajax, because in the blade.php you can see we have mentioned it as an Ajax. We need to query the user table and fetch only the user, not the admin. So here the type is user, only user, and with the help of data table class we are passing the data, which is this one over here, and then we are returning the data. We will be getting the data in the form of row. So here I am adding two buttons. The first one is edit button, still here, and then we have delete button. And before working on data table plugin, we have to make sure that we have installed the data table plugin. Now the plugin is loaded properly. Now if we are initializing the database table with the data that we have received, and then we are saying that add a index column. It is going to be a serial number, then add a custom column called action, and this is the callback function. Create a custom column called action. Along with the action, what all data should be there? It should be two buttons. So these two buttons, you see, one is going to be created with the URL, because we are going to add an edit button, and this is for delete button. So delete. So these two ID are passed in two different ways. One is with the help of href, and the second is with the help of data ID. Data ID is very simple, because as I click, I'll be getting this ID and deleting it before asking permission. Are you sure you want to delete? And this is for the edit. And this raw column is nothing but, since we are passing the HTML, we are saying that it should be rendered as an HTML, and this is for the request as we get as an JSON. Now if everything goes smooth, we should see the table that should be blank, because we don't have any other user who is not admin. Edit your sub-user. Instead of sub-user, you can simply make this as a receptionist, Control V. Go in the dashboard, it could be receptionist, receptionist, and the URL can be receptionist. and in the web.php it's already a receptionist. Cool. Refresh it. We should see an empty table. Subuser is not defined. I have still used the word subuser somewhere. We can delete this. Yeah, it's here. Cool, this is blank, and you see the data table is also initialized properly. Now let's just add a button over here saying that add receptionist, and then we can able to delete, and we can able to see the list over here, and then we will be able to edit and delete it. Let's just do that. The receptionist button, add receptionist button, I'm going to add over here, and you can see receptionist.add is the route that we would be creating. So let's just do that. So the add receptionist button is just going to have the add function over here. Will be just returning the, it will just return the view called add receptionist. Let's just create a new file called add receptionist dot blade.php, and again it's going to be a simple form. Over here we are just going to have again a card body and a form, and you see we have a form. We'll be adding this route in just a minute, and we have a username, we have an email, and we have a password. So let's just create a route for receptionist. This is for add validation. Now the relevant function we need to create on the route, sorry, controller, and simply again this function is going to have validation, and then we would be using the create function to send the data to the database, and in the database it's just going to be the user column, and we will be just modifying the type as an user. Previously we have made this admin, and now we are just going to make it as an user. That's it. You can see we have made the required, we have sent all the input field into a variable called data, and we have used the user data to create this input field will be entered into this column, email into the email column, password into the password column, and user into the type column, and then I'm returning them to the receptionist with the success message. And in the success message we have to capture the success message over here, and then the validation too, the name for the email, for the password, code. If I click on add receptionist, you should see these buttons, and you can type the first receptionist @gmail.com, and the password is same. Click on add. Let's just see whether we are able to add user. Yes, we are able to add, but the data is not getting visible here. Let's see why is that. Let me try adding one more. @gmail.com, password is same. There seems to be a typo error, but you can see we are able to get the values that we have entered over here. Now this receptionist value, let me just log in with Ivan. Let me click log out, and I'm logging in as a receptionist, not an admin. So this module of receptionist should not be shown to the receptionist. So let me just remove that. So we have to get into the dashboard, and this receptionist should only be seen to the logged in user @endif, sorry, not logged in user, of type admin. Now this is Ivan, and Ivan won't be able to see the receptionist. If I log out and log in as Roger, because he is another receptionist, he would again be not able to see. But as a super admin, which was UI Monk, would able to see the receptionist data. He can add and delete. He can add and edit and delete it. Let's just work on these edit and delete functionality. So over here, let's just work on delete. Since we are passing the ID, if I hover on it, or if I get into inspect and show you the data ID which it has, click on this button and you see data ID 2. So we need to access this on clicking on it, and then we need to pass this ID to a URL, and from the URL we'll be accessing it from the controller, and from the controller we would be creating a function to delete it. So let's just now what we need to do is, in the receptionist page, once I need to write a function in jQuery. Once I click on the button, I need to get the data ID attribute and send it to a URL. So you can see when I click on the delete class, I am getting the data ID and asking, are you sure you want to delete? If he presses yes, then a URL is created which is receptionist delete, along with I am passing an ID. So let's just create this route. Over here I'm accessing the ID and sending it to the delete function of the controller. And now let's create a function and access the ID through the URL. So that passed parameter, if I click on this, you will see an you have seen with the jQuery we have created a URL, and that URL has an ID. So that ID can be accessed as a parameter, and we are accessing the primary key, and using the delete function it is getting deleted. And in the receptionist page we are going to have a success message. So receptionist page, which is just a receptionist. Do we have a success function? No. Let's just create one. So let's try deleting one. Let's create Roger, delete Roger. Click on, are you sure you want to delete? Yes. Receptionist delete 3. Let's see whether it is deleted or not in the actual database. No, it's not deleted yet. So in the controller, first in the web.php, let's see whether the actual URL, yes, this is the actual URL. Now in the controller, and everything seems good. As I checked with dump and I am able to access the ID, but somehow it of fail. Do we have imported user? Yes. Yes, it says it has been removed. Let's just try removing Ivan as well. Click on remove. Yes, receptionist removed. So there is no data. Let's create on add one, which is Russell @gmail.com, and then we have Roger, or just say Ross @gmail.com. Click on add. So now we have two. Now let's work on edit functionality. If you hover it, you will see at the bottom it says receptionist/edit/5 and receptionist/edit/4. So we have the URL. Now it's time for the URL to add it in the web.php. So over here, this is the edit function, because when I click on it I need to show a form. So for the receptionist controller we need to show the form, and we need to give the logged in user data. So the logged in user data need to be pre-filled on the form. So for that we need to get the primary key access with the help of find or fail, and then we are passing the data which has primary key ID, and this primary key is passing to the edit receptionist. Let me create a new file called edit receptionist. Just copy the same data from add receptionist, and over here in the value we just need to mention $data $data, which is name, the same way for email and for password. So we don't have to write for password value, and that's good. Now once I click on edit receptionist, then the value should be sent to the edit receptionist edit validation URL. So in the web.php we need to write edit validation. So for edit validation, the function is going to be edit validation here. The same way as we have added with the password, so that code that we can get is from the profile controller, and here it is the edit validation. Just copy the whole code and give it. So we have name, email, yes, and then yes, and everything seems fine. If it is if there is password entered, then convert it to hash. If the password is not entered, then leave it as it is. If I make a refresh and click on edit rows, receptionist/add is not there in the web.php, or instead of all, we missed one important step, which is in the edit validation we need to pass an input field. So input type hidden, we don't need to have class, and the name should be hidden, and the value should be ID that we have passed through the URL. Now this ID can be accessed from the controller. Where is the controller? And over here I think we don't need this ID. So update the form data based on the logged in user, and profile updated. Refresh it, edit. Let's try with dump and die. Dump and die $ID. This is edit. Edit. The dump and die is working. Let's try to dump and die the data. This data is also accessible. edit receptionist. Dot edit underscore, let's just leave as it is, copy this, rename, yep, now we got Ross. Profile, edit Russell, so you got Russell. So let's just type Russell at the rate, I think in the, refresh this, so it should be Russell at the rate, and in the edit receptionist we have name twice, so that's wrong. Here it should be email. Refresh this and we got email. Let's just make this Russell 99, password Russell 99, click on update and it's Russell 99. Click on log out and try to log in with Russell 99 and it's working. So edit this and let's just make this, it's Russell 99 but it's Russell here. Browse. So there is two Russell here. How come? I think I have made a problem somewhere. Russell 99 has, instead of updating, it got created. So instead of this ID, I think we can access it with data ID, hidden ID. Hidden underscore ID, which we will be getting it from the edit receptionist input field hidden. Let's try this. Let's try to edit Ross 99. Click on edit receptionist. Here we got Ross 99. If I click on log out, let's just see by refreshing it. So Ross 99 is there. Ross 99, edit. It's still Ross. Let me try deleting this Ross 99. Actually, this receptionist module should not be visible to Ross. I don't know why it's visible. There is some problem in the dashboard. If it is admin, then only show this receptionist, but why it's showing to non-admin also. Log out. Okay, now I got it. You see, this should be, let me just log in at Russell. This should be UI Monk. Actually Ross 99 is the admin now. I have to rename it from Ross 99 to UI Monk. So let me just register it. Register, log out, And now let's work on adding departments. So it's going to be similar to the receptionist module which we have created right now. The same way we are going to add a department, the table would be listing and we would be having this link. So let's just add the link now. So in the dashboard we need to add a link. So this is also exclusively available to the admin department. This is the URL, and now you can see there's a link. Now once I click on this, I need to have this kind of page similar. So before that I need to add a column. So previously we had a user table which has the details about a receptionist. Now we need a department table. So in that case we'll be writing a code. Stop the server. We'll be writing a code PHP artisan make migration create department table. So this would create a migration file. We have to modify this file and then we need to migrate the table. So a migration file would have created. So in the database migration and the table create department, and here we need to add the columns. We would be having two columns. The first one is department name and then the contact name. Now we need to create a model. So before creating a model we can migrate this PHP artisan serve. Actually it should be PHP artisan migrate. So before migration let's create a model. It's artisan. A model would have created. So now we can see in the HTTP models we have a department. We need to create a fillable variable. So here we have to mention these two column names as a fillable variable, and now we can migrate PHP artisan migrate, and in the you should see the department table. You can see now we need a controller. So that we can show the page as I click on the department link. Now in the web.php we should mention when there is a call for department in the URL, the function index should get called and the name of the router's department. Now in the controller we would have a department controller. We need a function called index, and as we did earlier, this department module should get only accessed by the admin, not only admin, and he should be a logged in user, and we would filter the logged in user by admin and non-admin, which is user, in the dashboard. If you see, we have written those two modules will be only applicable for the admin, and that would take care by this constructor. It will create a middleware saying that only the logged in user can view this module. So now we need to create a view called department, and here we would have the same file as of we have for the receptionist. We can just simply copy the same code and paste it in the department. We can skip this for now because we would have the same success message. Don't need, and add department, and we would remove this route for now, and everything else is same. Now we have added the route. So if we click on the department, we should see this view. Before that we should have our XAMPP or localhost the server running. Click on dash department, and yes, our department is working. Now this could be a similar case. We can simply copy the receptionist code of fetching the values from the database, not fetching the value, actually initializing. I think we don't have extra. Yeah. So the table is going to be department table, and then department fetch all, and the column name would be department name and contact name. So we are initializing the data table with the department name and the contact name along with the action. Now if you see department name in the column and column contact name as a column, the department fetch all. We have not created this yet, that's why it's showing an error. So in the web.php, just as we did for the fetch all for receptionist, we can do the same for the department. Make sure to change the controller name, receptionist fetch all, and this is the function that need to be there on the department controller. And as a controller, we should initialize all the department, user, authentication, hash, session, and data tables at the header of the PHP or Laravel file. And without wasting much time, it's similar to the receptionist function that we have earlier seen. So the request is going to be Ajax, and we will be getting all the data from the department table, and then we would initialize the data table with the data that we received from the Eloquent ORM, and we are adding them just as we did for the to get the edit and delete functionality. We are passing this on the href, and this is data ID. And why to miss one more division, which is we need to add the delete button. So I think it's too early right now. Department threshold is not defined. I think I have not saved the web.php yet. Department/fetch all. Department. So the name of the route was wrong, that's why it was showing this error. So everything seems alright. The data table also got initialized. Now we need to work on the add department button. Let's just do that. So in the department, we can make department/add in the web.php, just as we did earlier. You can just copy paste the receptionist code, department.add. So the add function in the controller simply return add a department view. So we need to create a add a department view in the view folder. So it's going to be an HTML. I'm going to explain it, don't worry. So we have the relevant data table we don't require, and this is the success message, and we have a department name column, we have a contact person column, sorry, input field, and this is the jQuery code as I click on the plus button. Let me just show you for better understanding and then I'll explain. Add validation is not defined because you can make this blank. So you can see we have a department name and a contact person. So if I click on this contact person, what should happen? One more contact person input field should get appended. So that's the reason why we have added this jQuery. I have removed the script, that's why it wasn't working. So it says it's not defined. Now you can see. So here the point that need to be noted is instead of name I am having a array called contact name. So this contact name will have multiple values. So if you see, this is going to be the contact name array, and again this is going to be a contact name array, and this is again going to be a contact name array. So this function, as I click on the button called add person, where is the button? It's here. Over here we have a add person ID, and just before the input field I have a div which will simply append the input field over here with the plus button or with the cross button. So this is the place where your input field would get appended. And now as I click on the button, this plus button, what happens is a HTML is created along with the counter. So the counter is 0 as of now. As I click on it, the counter value should get incremented by 1. So these value, what happens is, note this counter variable, let's just focus on the HTML right now. So as I click on the plus button, you will see the counter over here. Version 1, version 2, version 3. You can see version 1, version 2, version 3 is because of the counter variable. So this and the plus button will also have the data ID 1. So now you understood why we have the counter variable. So as I click on the first data ID, the relevant person column name will get removed. If I click on the first one, so you can see the first one got removed. So if I close the third one, so this data hyphen ID has 3. If I click on data as hyphen 3, then the person hyphen 3 would get removed. So now we have only 2. So this is for appending HTML, and we have appended it with the append function. And now to remove this minus button will have a class called remove person. You can see remove person. As I click on this, I am getting the ID and I am removing the relevant row. So the row has the ID called person -2 and I am removing that. So I hope that's clear. And the point that need to be noted is, we instead of using name as a variable, we are using an array. That's it. So once I click on add department, here this route we need to create it on the web.php. Yep, we have the same on the receptionist. We can just simply duplicate this. Cool. Now this is the function that we need to make on the controller, and again it's going to be the insert operation. We are validating it, and then we are taking all the input field and storing into our data, and then we are using the create model so that we can use create static function and perform the insert operation. So now again here you need to notice we have passed the contact name as an array. So now we are imploding the array. That means we are converting the array to string with the help of implode function. So since array has multiple values inside it, we would convert it as a string, and then we would separate it with the comma. So that's it. And then we have a success message. I hope I have a success message on our web.php. So add a department. Yep, we have a success message. And let's try inserting one. So administration, Adam and Alex, and Alex. Click on add department. Base table not found, System management departments. So again I have made a mistake here. It is the Laravel's default way of adding plural to the tables, but in my case you can see the table is singular, so I need to modify it, or simply just get into the dashboard, database main, and click on SQL, and I have a query for rename. So we just have to rename from department to departments. It should be departments, but it's actually department. If you click go, and your table would get departments, and it's because of this singular that we have to make, plural that we have to make. So here you have to notice, what you have to notice is the model should be singular, but the migration table should be plural. Now I think it's forced, we have to refresh it again. Administration, Alex and Adam. Click on add department, and you can see a department is added. Now the array has been converted to string as well. Likewise, let me add IT support, sales and facility management. Now I have added all the departments. Now this is for test. So if I click on edit, I would be able to edit it. So let's just do that. So it's very similar to what we have done for the receptionist. I don't think we need another explanation, so it will be just repeating. So now in the table of department, which is the department page, you see there is a URL that we would be appending on the action. So this can be seen over here. So you can see department, edit and row. So in the web.php, just as we did for the edit function, this is for the department edit, and we are passing the ID as I shown you on the controller, department, and you can make this department.edit, just not to confuse. Now we need to create an edit function in the controller. So what should happen? We are passing the ID over the URL, and I am receiving the ID, and I am getting the primary key ID. Now I am setting this in the edit department, because when I click on a particular department, I want the data to be pre-filled. So if I click on this edit, I want to create a form, so that form should hold the information of the particular column. So that's the reason this would have a primary key, and I am getting the primary key. If I click on edit, you will see at the bottom, you will see department/edit/5. So this 5 would be the primary key, and I'll be sending it to a page called edit department, which will be over here, edit.php, and now we would be getting the ID, and it is again the similar HTML that we would have as an edit, but here there is a catch. If you remember, we have converted the array to string to display it on a table, but to display it on the HTML, again we need to convert the string to HTML. We have used previously implode, now we need to use the function called explode. So everything else is similar. The success message, the first input field will have a department name, the second input field will be an string that we need to convert it into an array. So you can see I'm using the PHP, and I'm getting the value, and I'm exploding it from string to array, and I'm storing it into the contact name. Now this is an array. Now I'm using the array to display the input field. As I said, this is going to be the array, and here we can access the array with the index number. So I have passed the index number 0, so since it's a for loop, it would start from 0 and it will stop until the last one, and it would be count. If we have 4 values, the starting one will be 0 and the last one will be 3. So this is the first one, and we are going to check whether to add person or remove person. We need to understand the HTML here. I don't think I have a code for that. I don't have the view for that. Now we need to understand, if it is first one, then we need to show the plus button. If it is the second one, then we need to show the remove button. So we would have the view on the receptionist. Edit. No, this won't have. So you just have to imagine saying that the first button would be add and the rest of the button would be remove button. So the similar logic, we have passed the data ID, and this data ID, you can see the person ID matches. So as I click on this data ID, this button would have a data ID, and this ID will match with the person underscore this ID, then this whole row would be deleted. Now everything else is going to be similar. So in case if you want to add an extra name, previously we have Simon Smith, and if you want to add one more name, so in that case I have made the count plus plus. So it is not going to start from 0, but it is going to start from the total contact name. So you can see in the input field I have mentioned if there is 2 names and their value will be 2. If you wish to add one more name, then it is going to be 3. So this is the total value. I have accessed it with the jQuery. The reason for appending here is I cannot send the Laravel code over here. Instead, what I have done is I have created an HTML, and in the HTML I have used the Laravel code, and with the jQuery I have accessed the HTML and used that value as a counter. So I hope that I have made it clear. Now if everything goes smooth, I think I have made the edit function. Since once I click on this submit, all the data would get into the edit validation. So we have to create the edit validation as well for the department. Department dot edit. I think it's not edit validation. You can take it from the receptionist. Department / edit validation, the controller, the function, the route, and now we need to create this edit validation over here. So in the edit validation we would be updating it with the ID. So over here we are validating it, and then we are sending them to the data and the form data, and we are again converting the string to an array. No, we are converting the array to string using import function, and then with the ID that we have stored. So you can see we have passed the ID, primary key of the department table in the form of hidden ID, and we are passing it into the controller, and with the help of the ID we are updating the row, and then we are successfully sending them to the department page with the success message saying that it is updated. Let's just try modifying the department. Instead of test, let's just make this HR. Harry, try to add one more, Hitesh. Click on edit department. Now instead of test it should be Harry and Hitesh. So that works. So if you click on delete, so in the department we should have a function for delete. It's going to be similar as we did for the receptionist. So over here you should find the receptionist and get the delete functionality and add it in the department. As I click on the delete, I'll be getting the ID and it is saying, are you sure you want to delete? If it is yes, then this URL would be created. It's going to be department/delete, and in the web.php we should mention the delete route, and then we have to create the function on the controller over here. We are saying that delete, we are passing the ID, and using the primary key find or fail, we are having the data, and then we are deleting it, returning back to the department page saying that it is deleted. So let me delete the HR, click on delete, and are you sure you want to delete it? Yes. And now that's gone. We just have 4 values. So I think the module for what do you call department is also done. Now it's time for the visitor. Now we have to redo the same module again for the visitors module. So here in the visitor module, the challenging is we need to show the data of receptionist as well as the data of department on the visitor module. So that is going to be challenging here. Everything else is going to be same. So let's create a migration file for the visitor table, close the server, and then we can paste our code for creating migration file. You can see visitors, and over here the visitor file would have created in the database migration, and here we have to make some columns, and here we have visitor name, visitor email, visitor phone, visitor address. Present to meet will come from the department drop down, and this is again department department drop down. These two data will be coming from where? These two data will be coming from the department table, and again reason to meet, enter time, outing remark, out time, visiting status either in or out, or the visitor entered by. So here we would be using the ID who have entered. So basically it's going to be the visitor name, sorry, it's going to be the receptionist name. So here in this table we are going to link the department table and the receptionist table. Fine. If that is clear, let's just make a model and a controller. Model is created, again controller is also created. Now PHP artisan serve. Cool. In the model we have to again make it fillables. So over here app http models visitor. So let's just call the column names we have entered in the migration file, and then in the dashboard resources views dashboard, and one more exclusive function. It is not an exclusive function, it is accessible by all. So we should write it outside this condition. Now in the server you should see for non-admin user also should see the visitor. It's blank as of now. So now we need to create an index file in the controller, and for the visitor this is the URL, and then we have called the controller, the index function, and the name of the route. So we need to create the function called index in the visitor function. So before that we need to link all the models over here. So you can see we have added the user model, department model, visitor model, the auth class, hash, so that we can convert. I don't think hash is required here. The session and the data tables. Now, so this is also viewable only to the logged in user, and then the view visitor. Let's create a view called visitor.relate.php. Again, it's just going to be the data table that we need to show here. We are seeing this thrice. I don't think we don't need an explanation. The script file, the add visitor button, then we have the table head, the ID called visitor. This ID is linked to the jQuery, and the route for fetch all, and the delete function. Now in the visitor table, we need this fetch all function in the controller. So before that, for a non-logged in user, so let me just log out and log in as a receptionist. So if I click on login details are incorrect. So there should be a visitor. If I click on this, only the data I have entered should display on this visitor. So to make that happen, we need to modify the query. Now this code says that only the data that I have entered should be visible. So with the help of visitor model, I'm using the join. That join is what? That join is combining the users table primary ID, which is users table primary ID, with the visitors table enter by ID. So I'm linking the user table and the visitor table. User tables. Sorry, linking the users table. Oh yeah, user table with what? With the visitor table. Where is the visitor table? I don't see a visitor table here. I think we have not migrated it after creating this. PHP artisan migrate. Now what we need to do is we need to link the visitor table with the user table. Let me just open the visitor table and the user table. So users table primary ID, we are joining it, users table primary ID, we are joining it with the visitor table visitor enter by ID visitor. So visitor enter by ID is going to be the receptionist only, but we would be adding it visitor enter time visitor enter by. This is going to be an ID. So we are joining these two, and we are using the where clause in the visitor, and only the logged in user should see the data that he has entered. So here in the visitor table, how we have two receptionists, and these two receptionist data will be displayed in the visitor table. But when I log in as a visitor 1, when I log in as a receptionist 1, I want to see only the receptionist 1 data. I hope I have not confused you. Let me just go through it again. Now this particular table is going to have data of two receptionists. How many visitors? Like if we have 10 visitors per day, and each of the receptionists is entering 10 each. So in this case, this table will have 20 data. So once I log in into the dashboard as the Russell, in the visitor section here we will be displaying a table, and in the table only the data which Russell has entered should get displayed, not the other receptionist. That's what I am saying here. Only display what the current receptionist has entered. So I'm accessing it with the ID. Now what all things I need to get, that I'm passing it into the query. I need these visitor time, visitor name, visitor person, visitor department. I will be entering it manually, the username and the visitor ID. So now I'm creating a new column for status. Its visitor status, either it's going to be in or it's going to be out, and I have differentiated with the class called danger and success. Now again we have another column which is going to be the edit for the edit and the delete, and it's really very straightforward as we did earlier. And cool, that's done. Now if everything is smooth, we should see, I think we have not added, Control V, in the visitor. In the web.php we have used index. Visitor.fetch all is not defined. Yep, we have to do this route for the visitor as well. And now you see these data. Now let's work on add visitor. So again, to make add visitor we need a route for adding, that means to show the view in visitor controller. We need to show the view for add. I'm getting all the department data. And why we need to have department? Because when we click on add, this form should have a drop down of departments. So these departments data would be coming from a database table called department. So that's the reason I'm fetching all the data from the table called department and sending it to the HTML. So which is add visitor. Now let's create a view for add visitor. Resources, views, add new file as register.blade.php. Here it's going to be a little tricky. I want you to give full focus over here. Now this is going to be similar. We are having the success, and as we know, once I click on the submit button or add button, this data should be sent to somewhere. As of now, let me just remove this. Now the column name, the first is going to be the visitor name input field. The second is going to be the email, and the third is going to be visitor phone. This would be we would be manually entering by asking the visitor, and also this is going to be we would be asking manually. And finally here comes the department name. So this we will be fetching it from the data that we have passed through the controller. So you can see this is the add the data. So this data has all the department information. So that's what I have made it using the for each. So the data department, and I am sending it into the option. So now in the option we are having the value. So we have 4 departments. Those 4 department value would be populated over here, and again if there is an error we would be getting the error. One more thing, so based on the department selected, the manager that is with the department should get displayed over here. So now I am populating it with the help of Laravel in the jQuery. I'll just show you in a minute. Just make sure that we would be discussing about the department and the related manager name in the JavaScript area. So now this is similar. Whom you want to, why do you want to meet that manager? So we would be manually entering it. So what is the time that he has entered? We would be manually entering it. What time he exited it? We would be manually entering it. The state is also going to be either in or out. We would be manually entering it. There is no logic behind here. And over here we are passing the primary key ID of the receptionist. So if I am Russell, my ID would be stored in the input type hidden, the visitor entered by, so that I can populate a column which has the column name visitor entered by. So it's actually very straightforward. It would be an ID that would be passing. I don't think visitor outing remark is required. It would be blank as of now. Now we need to understand the mapping between the two drop down. If I select the first drop down, the relevant manager game should get populated. That's what I have made here. So here in this is the uh, Laravel function that I have used in the JavaScript. So here we have department name and we have manager name. So it's just an HTML, we are getting it by ID, that's clear. As I select the department name, so the on change event is triggered. So as I select, I want the selected department name value should be over here, because we will be passing it into the JSON and get the relevant manager name. So as I select, the person to meet drop down should get blank immediately. So you can see that's what I am doing. And then the selected department name, I am passing it into the Laravel code. So simply what I am doing is, this JSON directive will convert your PHP code into the JSON so that JavaScript can understand. So till here we are converting it, and this line of code. So based on the selected data, we are getting the department, we are getting the manager name, and we are splitting it with the comma and appending it into the option tag of the person to meet select drop down. So this is going to trim the spaces, and the person to meet would, you see this is an option tag that is created inside select tag, and this is the select tag, and we are appending the option tag inside the select tag with the values that we received according to the department name. So if everything goes smooth, we should see the add visitor drop down would get populated. So select department, as I select department, Adam is there, Alex is there. As I select IT support, Ivan is there, Isaac is there. As I select sales, Simon and Smith. As I select primary facility management, these are the relevant. Now we would be manually entering this, and let's work on the form submission. So here the form submission, we need to create a action attribute over here, and let's just call the route in the web.php for the add validation visitor, the controller, again the visitor. So we need to create a function for add validation. So it's just simply going to be the insert function. We are validating it, these are for fields required, and then with the help of visitor module, we are using the static method and passing all the data into the specified column, and then returning the visitor back to the visitor page with the success message. So visitor is Vishal, and the email address, the visitor phone, the room number, you want to meet sales Smith. The reason is improve sales, time entered, we don't need to mention exit time right now, and his status is he's in the premise now. Click on add. The post is not supported. So in the web.php, yes, everything's in. Sorted method is get. You can see over here visitor slash add, but here it should be add validation. So in the visitor.php, add, maybe we are sending them back to the visitor. Let's just see whether the data is inserted or not. In the visitor table, no, it is not inserted yet. We should see the validation. Yes, it works. Let's just retype it. click on add, the visitor time out is required. Okay, we can specify the blank or dash that indicates that he is still in numeric out of range. Okay, there seems to be an error in the SQL structure. We need to convert them into varchar. You can see mobile data, we need to convert them into varchar. $255, save. Likewise, it's better to have varchar instead of something else. Data and you can also convert this 1 2 3. Let me just do that. Change. Varchar is the best option for anything. If you get an error in the data type, visitor out, change. And finally, visitor enter y. Hopefully this should work now. Click on add, and yes, we have made the first visitor. This is entered by Russell. Likewise, let me log in by Ross and enter one more user in the name of Ross. I don't know, it's Ross 99 or just Ross. Database structure, users, and Ross is capital R. Now let me just add a visitor who is Robin, email, and let me just fill some random values. We just want to see whether we are able to insert properly or not. And here, if I click on add, we should only be able to see the visitor that Ross has entered. Now if I log in as admin, who is UI Monk, we should see both the data. So as I log in, you will see the date. This is blank, right? So we can change that in the web.php. At the end we'll do it. So this is visitor, one is entered by Ross and the other is entered by Russell. So this works. Now it's time for editing. So let me just log out and log in by Russell. And if I click on edit, I should be able to see the add button again. Sorry, adds HTML again. So for first thing we need to add the edit. Again, as we did earlier, the ID is required. So in the controller, we have using the primary key and we are sending the data. So as I said, we need the HTML to be pre-filled. So that is the ID that we are passing. So each edit will have an ID. You can see it over here on the bottom left corner. So you can see the ID is 1. And then this is the HTML that we need to create. .blade.php, and again it's going to be very similar to what we have done on the ad. So here we have again we will be seeing this. We just have to add the ID over here, that's it. Sorry, the value over here, value, value, again value, value, out time, and that's it. So we don't have to change the department, we don't have to change the manager to meet over here. Anyway, we are just going to modify the out time itself. So if I click on edit, so you can see everything is pre-filled. I have used the department as HTML, select HTML input field, and then we can see it's 6 o'clock, he has went out. So only the out is there is no in. If you click edit, and that data would be sent to this URL, and we need to create this edit validation, the web.php first. Visitor, create edit validation function in the controller. Editing is going to be similar. We have added the, we don't need the required, but we just need to update the data into the table. We don't need outing remark, that's why it is blank. So everything else we have filled it with the help of the input field, and the main thing that we have to focus on is exit time and status while editing, status and out time, and we are updating it with the row ID. Row ID we have used in the hidden field, you can see hidden field. While editing we need it because we have already seen it in the receptionist module and the department module. I'm not stretching it over here, and that's it. If I click, if I change the time to 6 or let's say 7, and the status is out, if I click on edit, and you see the status is out, and that's it. Instead of view it should be edit, just make this, and everything else seems to be fine. Now if you want, you can edit the ROS value as well. ROS as visitor, and edit the ROS value. He is out, and the out time is 9 o'clock. And if I click on edit, and it's out, the status is out, and enter by ROS. If I click log out and log in by UI Monk, the super admin, in the visitor section, and if you wish to delete, again you need to create route for delete, because in the data table we know we have added the delete button. And now in the controller it's just a plain delete, getting the ID, deleting it, and returning them saying that data removed. Let's remove Vishal. Click on delete. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes. And the data of Vishal is done. Even after refresh we can't able to retrieve it. So I think the scope of this video is done. So let me just go through one last time. Let me create another receptionist, and if you wish to add one more department, let's say the department is going to be finance department, and in the finance department we have Michael and Manohar, Michael and Manohar as a department manager, and I can add a receptionist. I can create a receptionist called Pradeep @gmail.com. Now we have added receptionist and a department. Suppose the receptionist Pradeep want to add a visitor called Manoj, and he has come to visit the co-working space and wants to meet the finance department's Manohar, and the reason to visit is office inquiry, and the entered time, exit time is not yet mentioned, and he is in the premise. If I click on add, you will see the data of the visitor has been added, and if the super admin wants to visit, and the super admin want to see the status, you can simply log in into another device called, I'm in the incognito mode right now, uimonk@gmail.com. I'm the super admin. I want to see the total number of user, so I can see that the visitor Manoj has come to visit Manohar on the department finance at 6 o'clock, and the status is still in. And after some time, the Pradeep who has entered the visitor Manoj has said that he left the office at 8 o'clock, and the status he has mentioned as out. Click on edit, and it says the Manoj is out, and in the super admin also the status got reflected saying that the Manoj is out at 8 o'clock, who has entered the receptionist entered by Pradeep. So I think the scope of this video is done. Let me meet you into another interesting tutorial, hopefully next week.